and love cannot really be talked about. So it's a bit of a problem. Just like trying to talk about life or beauty or God or whatever big topic, big concept or reality, it cannot be really talked about. We can only talk around it, right? We can never talk about it because it and us are not separate. Yeah. So when something is not separate, how can you know it? That's impossible. That's the realm of the mind. The mind, through abstraction, through thinking, through language, is always making everything into a thing that can be defined, talked about, analyzed, pointed at, contrasted with other things, right? The mind or thought lives in a world of things and ideas and concepts. But love is not a thing. How can it be a thing? God is not a thing. Love is not a thing. It's the truth. It's the essence. It's the essence of the very fabric of life, the very fabric of everything. So it cannot be objectified. Yeah. If it cannot be objectified, it also means it cannot be known. We can only be it. But the other problem is that we are already it. It's not like somehow we become something different than we are not by coming to a talk like this, for example, or by meditating for 20 years. It's not like we have finally achieved something or got something that we never had. So that I can kind of put it in my pocket and feel good about myself, or I achieved something. It's really not like that. So if there are those of you here who have done a 10-day silent retreat or a week-long silent retreat or any kind of spiritual practice, or if you lost something or someone that you really loved, you really cherished, in these experiences there is usually a sense that there is something about us, about our very being, that cannot be harmed, that cannot be lost. So when we're talking about love, we're really talking about that realm, that kind of realm and that kind of depth of things. It's not something that somehow I have and I can lose. I can gain or I can lose, like a video game or something, like another level or another achievement. Everything in our world works that way. Work for it to have it, or work for it so you can earn it, or you can be worthy of it, right? But we cannot say the same thing about love or God or inner peace or this absolute truths about reality, these universal things. We cannot say that. So we are here to talk about relationships. Of course, it's about love. Relationships are all about love. And yet love cannot really be talked about. So what are we going to do? Right? We can maybe only talk about our confusion about love so that the confusion becomes clarity. That's really the only thing we can talk about. Yeah. And all of us are very confused about love. Profoundly confused. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So, but that also doesn't mean somehow that I know something. No, I don't. Yes, I'm sitting on this side. The camera is pointed to me, but it's not like somehow I know something that you don't know. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that I have been working on deconditioning all the bullshit that we are bombarded with out there in life. All the social conditioning from Hollywood, from TV shows and magazines and novels, all the unhealthy aspects of what we try to make into love. So this deconditioning, to me, is healing. To heal is to leave behind conditioned ways of being, because conditioned ways of being are all driven by fear. That also means that we all have different masks that maybe helped us at some point in our lives, but they got stuck. We got stuck with them. So we got stuck with this persona mask. Let's say one mask might be, for a man, the nice guy. Well, if as a child I had to be the nice little boy so that mom is always happy, right? So that mom can finally love me. Then as an adult, I'm going to still carry this conditioning of the nice guy. Well, there's a problem with the nice guy because niceness is not true kindness. Niceness is a mask, right? When we are truly kind, we give. When we are nice, we try to manipulate. We try to people please. People pleasing is a kind of manipulation, even if we don't accept that, right? So the process of healing for me is all about leaving behind, living through masks. But the masks are there for a reason because of early wounding, early fear, we have this survival mechanism, right? There is a reason why we are conditioned in the way that we are. There is a reason why, let's say, in the middle of a conflict, some of us completely shut down. Some of us, we don't shut down, we become reactive. Some of us try to please. Some of us run away. Why? Each person is different. Because each person has a different wounding. And each person has a different reaction to their own wounding. Even identical twins living with the same parents react differently. Because we are each individual unique human beings, we react differently. So, in this space, I usually don't remember what I say, and conversation kind of goes wherever it goes. And you can always ask questions. This topic is profoundly large, and we can never cover everything in 75 minutes. Maybe not even 75 days. So love is a massive topic. Relationships could be the biggest question for human beings, for us. The biggest confusion point, relationships. People who have every other part of our lives figured out, I work a lot with people like this, they are sometimes the most confused when it comes to relationships. We are historically and socially profoundly confused about relationships. That's why there's 50% divorce rate. If the other 50% could feel courageous enough, maybe 45% of those would have divorced anyway, already, right? So 50% divorce rate should alarm each person on the fucking planet, because that's only what we see on the surface, 50% divorce rate. It's actually so much more. The unhealthy relationship, maybe 90%, 95%. This means that as human beings alive today on the planet, we are very, very confused, very lost about how to relate romantically in today's world. Because choice comes with the responsibility and burden of having to know what you want. But we don't even know who we are. How can I figure out? No one has asked me, what do you want? Everybody is always telling us what we should be doing. So I think the journey of healing, transformation, getting to know ourselves is really about finding out, who am I? Who am I in my uniqueness? Who am I outside of the bullshit of my conditioning and society and what everybody is telling me I should be doing? Who am I? If I had profound freedom, complete in every way possible, how would I live my life? Well, usually no one asks us that question. Nobody. But everybody seems to be so full of ideas about how I should live my life, right? And usually this advice is given without my permission. From this age up until we die, we are always bombarded with all these things. Should, you have to, you must, right? And so we get conditioned. And we kind of end up fitting into what society says. Society keeps each other in line. No one has to do anything. We are already keeping each other in prison, in the prison of fear-based condition. So for me, I had my first heartbreak, breakup, the ending of my first romantic relationship when I was 21. Sorry. When I was 91, 400 years ago. So I'm 500 now, so I know I don't look it. Okay, when I was 21, I had my first heartbreak, and um, and I had to question everything because I was in a lot of pain. I got really depressed after this happened. And then the question came from somewhere beyond the mind. The question came from my heart, maybe, or my soul, I can say. And the question was, what is love? And the question, I didn't think about this question, it came to me. And I just knew in that moment that I had to find out what love was. It's been almost 20 years after that so far. So that question took me to spirituality, Buddhist practice, to India, to Nepal, to living at an ashram for 7 months after I quit my job. And I've done a lot of big things in this. I really went into this. I did 10-day courses, maybe 25 of them. For another 20 of them, I was a volunteer in the kitchen. Even when you do that, you meditate 3 hours a day. So I've been a meditator for 20 years. And so I looked at spirituality for the answer of this question, what is love? Because what I had just experienced with this partner, I knew for sure was not love. It had nothing to do with love. It was a very difficult relationship, a lot of conflict, and after it ended, I got depressed. So I was suffering so much that how can this be love? As a 21-year-old, I knew that that couldn't be love. I had no idea what love could be or was, but I just knew that it wasn't that, right? At least that much clarity I had. And already I was studying psychology, and then I got my master's, and then I started working with people and got very deeply into my own healing. And then people at this time, usually in the workshop, someone raises their hand and they ask me, okay, then what is love? Like, what did you find out? Tell us, right? In 20 years. Well, more and more, I have no idea. And this is about leaving behind conditioned ideas of what love is or what it should be. So the more that we leave that behind, the less we live in our heads. The less I live in my head, the more embodied I am. And if I'm really embodied, more often than not in my life, I don't have to know with my head what love is. You are already embodying that. Yeah? You begin to live as love. And you see that whatever you see here or realize or get in touch with, you see that without being aware, each person already is love and already living as love no matter what they're doing. Yeah? So it's the fabric of reality. It's everything. So, but someone might say, this is about spirituality. Yes, it is. How can this be? What does this have anything to do with romantic relationship? But romantic relationship is also all about love. How can that not have anything to do? Because this love that is everything, this love that we cannot escape from, this is a freedom we cannot escape from. If everything is love, we are, right, the fish looking for water, right? If everything is love, all that is required is to stop. Stop thinking that is somewhere else. All that is required is to stop the seeking. Because for as long as I'm seeking, I'm so convinced it's not here. I'm so convinced it's not here, that's why I'm seeking. And I'm always seeking somewhere else. Not this moment, but in the future. Not right now, but, or we look at ourselves, we look at ourselves and we say, not me right now. Me only after I meditate for another 5 years. Me only after I go to therapy for another 5 fucking years, or this or that. Or after I take this certification, or I have this much money. But what if the truth of our being was such that already we are enough and there's never been anything wrong with us. Never been. That also means there's never been anything wrong with anybody else. But that also means there's never been anything wrong with the fucking world. Nothing. Even when I look at the news, I can have a heartbreak. I can feel sad about the war, this, that. If I hear about someone being murdered, I can still feel compassion for that. But this doesn't mean fundamentally that there's anything wrong anywhere. Neither inside nor outside, neither on the other side of the planet where people are being murdered every moment. Nothing wrong. How could that be? It's incredible, right? So every time I go and do a 10-day silence retreat, I encounter something that I can call my true self. Every time. Because in 10 days, you don't have any distractions. It's like a prison. It's like the prison of enlightenment. Like you admit yourself, like kind of take me, right? You go there voluntarily so that you can get in touch with something inside that is the same thing with everybody. It's the same. It's the universal being. It's not the, right? So we get in touch with something so beautiful and profound that belongs to life. We can call it inner peace. We can call it whatever, joy. But it's not personal. It's just about life itself. And in that moment, the mind is completely empty. The mind is very still, very quiet. So every 10-day course, I have at least one full day somewhere in between where I am fully feeling this everywhere, inside, outside, wherever I look. There's only beauty, miracle, beauty. Everybody is like, it's as if everything and everyone, inside, outside, it's all God. It's all love. It's so beautiful. So in that moment, the conditioned way of being is not there. Yeah. The conditioned way of being creates the illusion of control. We feel safe in our own conditioning, right? Even if we hate the conditioning, even if we recognize that it's never given us anything, it has never given us real happiness or joy. Somehow we find something familiar in the prison of our own fears, of our own shame, of our own woundedness and suffering. We find a kind of comfortable, familiar comfort in living in that way. Yeah. Up until we see that something radically different is possible. Sometimes when I do sessions with people as a somatic therapist and spiritual mentor, they have these moments in the session. Not because I'm doing anything special, because I help them get in touch with themselves. That's all. With somatic therapy, get in touch with emotion, get in touch with the body, come out of the mind. Let your mind take a break. So in those moments, something new opens, a new consciousness, a new way of being. In silent retreats, this happens. Sometimes this happens to people in nature, when you're in nature for a long time, especially if you're alone. Or if you're with company, they don't talk too much and you can actually connect with yourself more deeply, right? Some people have these experiences during sex, in amazing and intense, intimate moments with another human being. Suddenly, something opens, and a different way of being is being felt and is being experienced. Yeah. And as children, this is how we lived. Before conditioning comes, before our wounding starts to make us feel more rigid and guarded with life, before we become afraid, as children, we lived continuously in this state of wonder, innocence, openness, joy. Completely, we lived in this. Yeah. So maybe the adventure of healing and awakening and love, romantic relationship, maybe the invitation is, how can I decondition myself, see through conditioning, and clarify my internal world, and reconnect with my childhood innocence, but now as an adult. That means I can keep the best parts of the child in me, and around that, sensitivity and vulnerability and innocence and openness. Around that, I'm going to have my mature capacities. Mature capacities is what? To be able to say, I'm sorry, after I hurt someone. Or to say, no, I don't want that. Healthy boundaries, healthy anger, saying no. Right? As children, we didn't have this capacity. We don't have a sense of self. But now, we can create a mature sense of self and skillfully navigating our lives. But we can still keep the tenderness, the open-heartedness, the joy of the child in us. So when I watch the Dalai Lama, right, I watch him on YouTube. This guy, he's like whatever years old now, 70, 91 maybe. So he's old. This guy is actually old and he's laughing all the time. And he's not only laughing now, he's been laughing for a while now. Maybe for the past 20 years. This guy is continuously joking around. He's being interviewed. He's like playing with the beard of the interviewer, patting him, on the head. This guy is like a 5-year-old little child in a profoundly awakened world leader's consciousness. So he has both. And wow, what a beautiful thing. For me, healing is all about that. Can I bring my mature functioning as an adult without losing the beauty of the child in me? But there's also the difficult part is this. So all of that is beautiful, right? Okay, sign me up. All right? Okay, take my money, give me that. But the challenging part is the child in us is also where our wounding is, where our deepest conditioning is, where our fears live, the deepest fear, the deepest pain. Everything that didn't work out so well with our parents are right there in the wounded child in us. Our reactions come from there. Suddenly we shut down. All that is the child in me shutting down. As the adult, I can be aware of that. Right? So, what do we do with wounding? How do we answer the call of our own suffering? What does it mean to heal? How can I integrate the child in me with the adult so that together we can live happily ever after, right? Internally. So this talk is about sacred intimacy. But sacred intimacy inside is more important than this partner that I keep waiting for, right? Yeah, this soulmate that I'm trying to manifest or all the other things. Sacred intimacy inside is all about this journey. The journey of healing and awakening and becoming the protector of our own heart and the protector of our own dignity, right? When I say to someone, you cannot talk to me like that. Look, you're really hurting me. Don't call me names. That's not okay. In that moment, I'm protecting my dignity. I'm protecting my sense of self-worth as a human being. I'm protecting my sensitivity and heart and vulnerability. I might say to them, look, I can tell you're angry, but you don't get to call me an asshole. You can't do that. No name calling. I can listen to your anger, but don't swear at me. If you do, I'm out. I'm gonna leave. That's my boundary. I'm telling you, right? So that even in our relationships, even when things get really heated, that we can remember that we are human beings worthy of respect, and that we need to respect each other no matter what, because without respect there's no relationship. We can convince ourselves that we are still in a relationship, but the relationship is already done. The relationship is already dead. For a lot of people, they continue relationships that have been over for a long time. I wouldn't call that relationship, right? I would call that cohabitation, maybe. Or we have an entanglement. Usually it's codependency, right? It's over for a while, but no one can say it. I've been there. I've had relationships like that. Yeah, that where people are too afraid to break up. Yeah, maybe we are afraid of confrontation. Maybe we're afraid of saying, hey, look, you really hurt me a year ago and it's still there and you've done nothing to repair that. And for 1 year now, I've been really hurt. And sometimes we are afraid to say these things. And sometimes we are afraid because we don't want to be lonely. But if I'm lonely already in a relationship, right? Then we recognize it's not even about the loneliness. I've just become addicted. To what? To this thing that I don't even know what it is anymore. To being with this person. Maybe I'm even getting really used to the fights that go nowhere, right? We get conditioned. Yeah, because at least I know that. Because the moment I break up, I go into the unknown. And the unknown is usually very frightening for us human beings. And usually we would rather stay in the known, even if it's terrible, even if it feels like a prison, than actually step into the unknown. Because in the unknown, it becomes very obvious that I'm not in control. We are not in control of our lives. Yes, we can make decisions. Of course, we have agency. I can say yes, I can say no. But ultimately, zero control. Can anything be guaranteed in life? Absolutely zero. Nothing can be guaranteed. Nothing at all. But when we make big decisions in life and pull the plug on a relationship, for example, quit the job or finally confront the friend who's been treating us like shit, it becomes so obvious that we've never been in control. It's a free fall. Life is a free fall. There's this story that I really love, in a Buddhist meditation story of the teacher comes to the student and says, student, I have two things to say to you. Good news and bad news. Bad news is we are all falling and we don't have a parachute. Okay, so we're all falling. We don't have a parachute. The good news is there is no ground. There's no ground. Isn't that amazing? But we have to first accept the so-called bad news. We are all falling. We don't have a clue about the future. No one has ever known anything about the future. We are absolutely not in control of anything. We are falling continuously, free fall. Continuously. And we don't have a parachute. So the first part is like, oh, we're fucked. Right? And then the fear comes, the terror comes, and the anxiety, the panic for my life. What's going to happen to me? If life is so uncontrollable, what's going to happen to me? I get so afraid. But then the other side, right? The coin flips. Well, there's no ground. What does that mean in human terms? In practical terms, what could that mean? When you guys hear that, but there's no ground as the good news, right? What does that mean for you? How do you hear that when I say, but there's no ground?
Say, like we were scared of something.
Yeah.
There's no need for fear.
There's no need for fear.
You think there's a snake that's actually
It's a rope, yeah. So, like, ultimately, life is safe, right? Something about life. Ultimately, we don't have to be afraid. Yeah. Ultimately, life is safe. Anyone else? How do you hear that? There is no ground. Huh? Trust. We can trust. Yeah.
In situation, you just trusting.
Yeah. 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 We can trust. We can have a kind of faith in life. And not blindly, not only just believing it or in the mirror every morning, I trust you, life. It's not only about the affirmations, it's actually feeling. And I think a huge part of that is recognizing the first part. I am falling. I am falling and this is fucking scary. Can I fully see that? Can I fully recognize that, admit that? Because without that, we are not in touch with the whole picture, right? Because the teacher is also helping the student in this story to actually see that you are afraid. Accept that. Life is fucking scary. Accept that. Accept it fully. Don't run away from your fear. That's part of being human. It's part of life to be afraid. Breathe into it. Stay with it. Be with it. Love it, maybe. But also, keep in mind, it might not be so that you have to be afraid. It might not be so that life is inherently unsafe. Like, open yourself to being surprised by the truth of the ultimate truth of life, that even though nothing can be controlled, perhaps at some deep level, without trying to convince ourselves, maybe everything's always been okay. Even at the surface level, if it doesn't look that way. Right? And more, things don't look okay in our world today. And I think it will only get worse for a while. So if I'm waiting for my inner peace to see on the news that the UN will have like a big cuddle party, right? That's never gonna fucking happen, right? If I'm waiting for all the presidents to kind of have like a kumbaya, right, tomorrow, that's never gonna happen. For all we know, it has never happened on this planet before. Who knows? I'm not saying I don't want to be surprised, but I also don't want to live my life in a way that is I'm desperately waiting for something. So I might as well be okay with life internally and outside, exactly the way it is right now. And if that brings fear in me, I can learn to be with it. Right? This is all the work that I've been doing on myself and with people for over 10 years. I can learn to be with myself. And my fear doesn't mean necessarily that I'm in danger. It could just mean that in this moment I'm afraid. That's it. It doesn't have to have a conclusion. The emotion doesn't have to suddenly have a meaning that, oh my God, it's because of this. And we can learn to be with our emotions, no matter what they are. Sometimes I open the news for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, always limited. And let's say I feel profoundly frustrated about the world. Okay, I can work with my own frustration. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. And it is not up to life to not make me frustrated. If I feel frustrated, I can own that, take care of it internally. Life outside doesn't owe me my well-being. I owe that to myself. Yeah? I cannot be waiting for things to change so that finally I can be at peace. So that finally I can relax or whatever. We need to learn to take care of ourselves internally. That's all healing is about. And to me, this is sacred intimacy. Sacred intimacy inside. Yeah. Any comments or any questions so far? Yeah?
I have a question. How to get love in good? And
How what?
to get love in good.
Okay.
Please, there are many men in good, but in some special place, maybe
They're all polyamorous.
they are not very mature.
Are they all polyamorous?
Some of them.
Okay. I hear that a lot, yeah.
I believe I see that there are many, but
Yeah.
I communicated with many men who are not mature enough for a relationship and also wounded.
Wounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand that they are my mirror.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't think that's just the message.
Yeah. And you know, all the men who are doing their work, they're in men's circles where women are not allowed. So the question is I think it's a very good question. Then where do we meet them? Well, you can wait at the door of the men's retreat, and like, with your car and with some rose,
Do we need to be on a white horse?
you can pick them up, right? On a horse? Yeah.
Do we need to be on a white horse?
Why not? Things have changed. I'm sure you've noticed. Yeah. Well, I'll give you a different answer, right? A different angle. There is a place that I've come to somehow at this time in my life where after relationships, after a lot of healing, after a lot of opening, where it no longer matters to me whether I'm single or partnered. In fact, I don't see one being better than the other anymore. I think when we are functioning from that place, like truly functioning from that place, it doesn't matter. And because it doesn't matter, finally, I'm relaxed about the whole thing, And then it might happen, it might not happen, or I meet them there or there, or maybe you'll meet your life partner at a bar in Canggu at 3 a.m. Who knows, right? Like, we just don't know. And I think these things are wide open. These things are all over the place. But generally speaking, it's good to kind of go out and be a participant in life, so that the odds are higher that you are more social, right? Always social. I think that's a good thing. And also really be honest about what you're looking for. I think the more we are honest and communicate what we are looking for, I do that too, all the odds go up, where a friend of yours might come to you tomorrow and say, you know what, I just met this person at a coffee shop. I think you need to meet him. It's not even your doing. You're not even doing anything because you just know what you want and you're talking about it, right? There's a way that things can, we never know what will come to us from where, from what channel, from what connection. Yeah. Makes sense? Yeah.
What if you don't know what you're looking
Yes.
Then you go to therapy. I'm not kidding, by the way. Yeah. Because that means, and I've been there as well, that means I'm not truly in touch with myself, right? With my core self and my daily awareness, there's a gap. So that gap, we want to close it. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you'll know everything about what you're looking for, but you'll have a good idea of your heart's longing. And especially not so much that she has to have this and this, not like, we're not talking about the big list. We're mostly talking about what kind of relationship I'm looking for, not even the person. What is the kind of relationship that I want to create with a life partner? Yeah. That's why I call this talk, Sacred Intimacy. Because sacred intimacy is a paradigm, it's a very specific paradigm of how we are connecting with somebody else. Yeah. Because it's not codependency. So clearly it's not that. Yeah. So let's do a practice now. Everybody find a partner. I'll tell you what to do. Each person will have... Is there anyone who would like to share? You could share anything, really. Completely open. What is sacred intimacy for you in this moment? Yeah.
There is one woman I shared earlier, which was so interesting because I was speaking my truth. And then I was like, yeah, I think I'm done. I've said everything honestly and truth that I else. And then she told me, I think we have one with this. I was like, yeah. And I said, yeah, but it's interesting too because it's not because I'm not speaking with my voice and I'm not like filling the space with this that I'm not with you. Even if I feel like this, watching each other, it's kind of laughing because there is silence. So we're like, oh, alright, a little bit, but yeah, let's laugh together, and it's part of that. And I was like, yes, this is it too. I don't have to fill the space every time with a sentence, words that, oh, I have to do something. Just to chill and be like, okay.
I think that's really the core of the sacred, right? From the sacred of sacred intimacy, the silence, the stillness that can be enjoyed, and it doesn't have to be filled with just more mind activity. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that's silence. And you know, in meditation practice too, or when we go to a church or some kind of a place where there is a sacredness, we just sit in silence, right? That's a universal practice in every religion and spiritual path. Sitting in silence is huge, just being, without having to do anything. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Just being, right? Without the need for fillers to fill the space. Just being. Yeah, anyone else who would like to share anything? What you noticed during this practice, or
I realized one thing.
yeah.
It's a coincidence because my brother here, he didn't speak good English, so he took some time to translate.
Yeah.
And so I heard you talking this sentence or something. I realized how different expectations or how emotions are in about women and men separately. How different we think about things. Just have the feeling that this is like important. To realize that it's different.
It's different, very different, yeah. And a lot of it also is our conditioning. We are conditioned by society in different ways. Yeah. An angry woman is very, very often called what? Yeah. A man who's in touch with his tenderness, maybe he could can cry, actually can cry, what is he called? Sensitive in a negative connotation. Yeah, right? Yeah, totally. So we are heavily conditioned by society also to not show certain emotions, right? Yeah, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add to that? Just recognizing that we're different.
Yeah, maybe because normally in relationships, when I talk about it, I talk about it with my friend or friends.
Yeah.
And I don't learn so much new. This chat was actually open inspiration for me. It just overheard it. More inspirational than the longer chats with my friends. So maybe this practice should be done between men and women and forming silence on the other side.
Yeah. It's very fascinating to watch different people and like men and women interacting together, very fascinating. Woman to woman, man to man, right? Man to man might be, oh, how's it going? Good, you? Okay. And like, pretty simple, right? And then you ask a female friend, hey, how's it going? Oh, well, let me tell you something happened yesterday. And then when I was walking there, and then this person said, there's so much, and both are beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, but also there's so much we can learn from each other. And I think in sacred intimacy, it's a kind of relationship where we are wanting to learn from each other, right? It doesn't have to be only heterosexual couples, by the way, but we're just, by being different people, two different people, unique, with their own unique conditioning and history and wounding or whatever, we are coming together to also learn from each other, to learn together, to heal together, to awaken together in love, within a container of love. Isn't that amazing? This doesn't mean my girlfriend is my therapist or the other way around. It just means that we are sharing together a journey of healing and awakening. And the love that we share for each other, with each other, is the biggest resource also in our healing. Because we get to witness each other's pain. I mean, not many things are more sacred than that. To have a life partner in a consistent and continuous and committed way, open-ended way, right? It could be lifelong. To have a partner to witness you in your day-to-day living, to witness all of it. The ups and downs and the good and the bad and everything. Wow. To me, that sounds pretty sacred. Yeah. And in sacred intimacy also, the understanding is we are all wounded. But we're not going to use that as an excuse for bad behavior. No. Still, this is a good relationship. It has to be healthy. It has to be respectful. It has to be mature. And if both people are committed to that vision of love, of what relationship can be like, wow, the sky's the limit. That's the edge of consciousness today on earth about what it means to relate to someone. Like this kind of understanding is very slowly starting because more and more people are recognizing that they're not happy in their relationships. And they want to bring sacredness back into their lives, into how they live. This doesn't have to be necessarily religion or religious teachings or a belief system, but sacredness. In whatever that means to you. Doesn't, right? We don't have to agree on what that means. Whatever that means to you, each person, can you bring that back into your life? For some people, it's nature, spending more time in nature, connecting with animals, connecting with the earth, with the plants and vegetables and whatever it might be, flowers. For some people, it could be, oh, when I volunteer for a few hours every week, I feel sacred. Okay, so volunteering, whatever the heart wants. For someone else, it might be playing the guitar, reading poetry, lighting a candle every night before bed, prayer, whatever it might be. For someone else, it's meditation. Yeah. So bringing back sacredness into our lives. Because in this modern world, we have become mechanical. We have become robotic. Everybody is so afraid of AI. I don't understand that quite. I am more afraid of us becoming like robots, and we have been. We have become robotic. We have become mechanical. That's our conditioning. We are so conditioned to do things in the exact same ways every fucking day. That's a robot. That's the functioning of a robot. We have become what we are so afraid of. I'm not so afraid of the actual robots with AI. I am more afraid of 8 billion fucking human beings acting mechanically, without feeling God in their lives, without feeling love truly, deeply, without feeling connected with the earth, right? With the fire, with the plants and animals and all that. I'm more afraid of that than anything that AI might do. I think we are collectively projecting our fears that are already here onto the machine, that somehow that machine will kill us. We are already killing each other by the millions. We always have been. But we don't want to collectively wake up to that. It can feel too much. So I will take all my fears and project it onto what? Artificial intelligence. Okay. Already we should be alarmed of what's happening in the world, right? I don't know how I got here. Anyway, more about sacred intimacy and relationships. If you'd like to share anything, please go ahead. And this could be sacred intimacy inside or outside, doesn't matter. Whatever you feel like sharing. Thank you. Yeah, great. Yeah, sacred intimacy.
Another question.
Yeah.
As you kind of learn on your spiritual journey,
Yeah.
the way I see spirituality is awareness.
Yeah.
How does your awareness change in your relationships
Yeah.
since you've gone deeper?
Yeah. I mean, I am more aware, a lot more aware. It's not always easy because then I am really aware, right? And the more things you feel and see, the more you have to take time also in your day-to-day life to process and digest them. Otherwise, so much can happen, but we have to give ourselves the time to acclimate. Just like, right, climbing on a mountain, the more you climb, the more you have to stop for your whole system to acclimate to that altitude. And only then it's healthy to continue. It's exactly like that. Because the more embodied I become, the more I'm in touch with the sensitivity of what human being is. And this instrument of being human, humanness, is profoundly sensitive. And that sensitivity needs to be honored. To honor that, we got to take time every day. So sometimes that's the challenge. But once we get used to it, there's nothing more beautiful. Because then you are living life so much more deeply. Because you are really intimate with your own experience of this life internally, so much more deeply and immediately. So much more immediate. Because the mind, excessive thinking, creates a barrier between me and life. And frozen emotion and trauma creates a barrier between me and life. A lot of people, we feel disconnected from ourselves and from life. We feel isolated, we feel lonely. But not only lonely in the sense that I don't have enough friends in my life, not only that, we feel profoundly disconnected. So the more healing happens here, I've been feeling more and more connected with life, but with that comes also a kind of intensity. I am more immediately impacted by whatever happens. So that also interesting because my emotions have not become less intense, they have become more intense. Not because of anything negative, it's just that I am no longer guarded around them. I don't have a big armor around me. When an emotion comes, I feel it immediately, directly, like a child, that innocence. But through the adult capacity, I've been learning how to deal with everything that is felt more intensely. It's actually really beautiful. Yeah. Good answer?
Yeah.
All right, you're welcome. Yeah, life becomes more immediate, more full. Because then every moment you're like so in it. When you're suffering, also you suffer more. Because the suffering also more immediate. But to work through suffering, we have to go through it. So I might as well not be guarded because I have to go through it anyway to digest it, to come out from the other side, right? So what happens through a lot of healing is we learn to live in a way that is not guarded, unguarded. But it doesn't mean stupid. It also means eyes wide open, right? Healthy boundaries, voice. No, I don't want that. Let's do this, like, right? Very aware, active. Yeah.
So, in my experience, and this might be a generalization, also free to do,
Yeah.
I find that men are more likely to express emotions.
Yeah.
The one with it between your experience, that's the one with men, your experience,
Definitely the same, yeah. And in the beginning, I used to work only with men. I worked with men who were sent by court-ordered anger management course, and then they meet me, and we talk about all the emotions, and then they're surprised and everything, because suddenly they're talking about everything that they never wanted to talk about, because they thought it was only going to be about anger. But if someone is angry all the time, there is trauma, and trauma includes all emotions we have to talk about. Anyway, and then I worked at Addictions Recovery Healing Center, Trauma Healing Center, again only with men. Some of these people, they had come back from the army, Canadian Army. I lived in Canada at that time in British Columbia. That's the conditioning. The conditioning is everything is fine. Oh, everything's fine. Hey, how's it going? You seem a little down today. No, everything is fine. And then there's this kind of pull yourself up, right? And because it's not safe. Because usually as children, as little boys, we have been shamed by other boys, usually one or two bullies for every group of boys. But those bullies are like repeat offenders. They shame and bully everybody. And the sensitivity of the other boys are squashed, are, hurt under the bullying. But the bullying comes and then the little boy gets conditioned, and the conditioning is to be myself is not safe. So I'm going to put on this mask. What is the mask? The mask is not help me, I'm nothing without you. The mask is not some kind of a victim, whatever. The mask is I don't need anyone. I'm okay. That's the mask. In fact, we are not okay. We are very deeply suffering, but it doesn't feel safe to say that. And even for women who have done a lot of work on themselves, right? I always challenge my female clients about this. Yes, you're telling me that you want a man who's in touch with his emotions. And yet, last time it happened, the moment he opened up, you ran away. You can't just be wanting that, and the moment a man gets vulnerable with you, I'm out of here. You gotta decondition yourself too. It's not only men learning to be vulnerable, it's also for women to learn to not be afraid of a man who is real, who is actually a human being, who can say, I feel really sad right now. If the woman in that moment is terrified, I'm not your mother, that relationship is not going to work. Make sense? So it's not only us men who need to learn. We have a lot of learning to do. I'm not trying to minimize that. All of us men, all of us women. But also it's also the women who have to learn to actually be with the men that they really want to be with. To want and to actually being able to do it are completely different things. There are a lot of women out there who think they are ready and who complain all the time that where are all the good men? But when one of them comes, they're fucking terrified of it. We all have a lot of work to do. That's just the truth. Doesn't matter which gender, which conditioning. We are all heavily conditioned. Ultimately, we are all afraid. It might be different fears. Some are afraid of intimacy. Some are afraid of loneliness. Some are afraid of this. Some are afraid of their partner's anger. Some are afraid of their partner's fear or shame or crying. For some people, when their partner cries, the other partner shuts down. They have no idea what to do with it. Absolutely none. When we explore that, usually what we find is one of their parents cried all the time. So the conditioning is, as a child, I don't know what to do around that. And also, like, it's not my thing. It's my dad's tears or my mom's tears. They have to deal with it themselves. But so the more we look at these things, the more we find very clear things in childhood, that direct reasons why today in our relationships we are challenged. We're not able to be with our partner in different moments and different things. Yeah. For some people, when they were a child, their parents used their anger in such aggressive ways that even healthy anger is not triggering. Even if I'm angry very, very healthily, just fiery, just something that really bothered me, if I raise my voice a little bit, maybe this new person I'm dating collapses completely. I wasn't attacking, I wasn't swearing, I wasn't doing anything. Just the tiniest bit of intensity, just a tiny bit of fire energy, this person is not there anymore, completely shut down. What happened? Oh, in their childhood, one of their parents was abusive, either towards the other parent or towards this person I'm dating directly. So they are so profoundly terrified of any intensity. But this can be healed. It doesn't mean that I have to get rid of my fieriness, even though I can regulate that so that I can be compassionate, so that I don't blast my partner with something they cannot receive. But also, they can do their healing so that within the relationship, there's a little more space for fiery energy. Because the more there is space for different energies, different emotions, the safer everybody is going to feel to be themselves. Otherwise, we'll always feel we have to walk on eggshells. Well, what if I'm a little intense? What if I say the wrong thing and suddenly she's going to leave? I don't want to be in that fear either, right? So we don't want to be continuously afraid of losing each other. Yeah. So when both people are healing, everything can also be talked about. What an amazing relationship that we can actually talk about things. When you say it like that, I feel like this because from my childhood, suddenly there's sense making. I'm making sense of my own wounding. I can explain it to my partner. She's doing the same thing. And then our relationship also becomes a container of very deep healing, very deep intimacy and heart-to-heart, human-to-human connection. Was there a question, Isabel? Yeah?
About the emotions, do you have any tips how to work with your emotions, how to shut it down?
Shut it down? I don't advise that one.
Like, you're understanding that it's not a real, it's just your emotion, it's about you, it's your projection, it's nothing to do with your
But sometimes it's not a projection.
Like, if you understand it with your mind, that this is a projection, there is nothing to do with your partner, it's just about you. But you understand that if you're gonna speak it up.
What if my partner is abusing me? In that moment, it's not only about me, it's also about what's happening. It's about the relational dynamic, right?
And you're understanding that if you're gonna speak about it,
yes,
the partner will not accept it. And you just have to work with your emotions, it's your problem. You have any tips? You just start meditating.
Meditation is profoundly helpful for sure. Yeah. Physical exercise is profoundly helpful because you get grounded. But also working with someone who really knows emotions. Really working with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had teachers, mentors for 20 years now, right? We have to work on it. There is a whole adventure or journey or process of healing.
It's a long journey. There is no something in a few minutes that can help you.
In a few minutes.
In this moment to calm it down, let's say, and then after some time you will speak it up, but with different way.
There are a lot of very helpful tools in the moment to use. Let's say if I'm super angry, I might go for a run first. Right? I might go for a run and then journal and then meditate, and only 3 hours later come back to my best friend or partner to talk about it. right? So this is one way you work with an emotion. If I'm super angry, I'm not going to open my mouth in that moment. Physical activity being one of many tools to deal with things. Yeah. But feeling our emotions fully is the most fundamental practice. Feeling our emotions fully. That's the most radical practice. Because there's nothing wrong with an emotion. Absolutely nothing wrong. Emotion means I'm human. That's what it means. To feel is to be human. Right? Having emotions is at the core of our humanity. Without that, it would be hard to call ourselves human beings. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with emotions. Yeah.
I have a question that might be a good follow-up for what you said.
Yeah.
If I'm starting to be on a journey of like mental health and dealing with myself, understanding myself, and all of that.
Yeah.
And I have a partner that has never dealt with this at all. Is also maybe not willing to and doesn't really have an access to any of this.
It can become quite problematic.
Exactly. And in a situation of a fight, I'm trying to explain where this comes from and why my inner child was hurt or something like this. They can't really receive it at all.
Yes.
That doesn't make sense at
they
that
can't.
moment to them.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can...
So part of this, right? We find out that part of this is developmental. Some people are just more emotionally mature. But the difference between two people, if that's too much, doesn't work. And in fact, people say, okay, we're not compatible. We're just not. It doesn't mean I'm better than you, you're better than me. It's just not working, right? We tried, it didn't work. So we move on. Either it's working or it's not. We got to accept it. There's no in between, by the way. When it comes to this, there's no in between. Either it's fucking working or it's not working. Yeah. And it's a good idea to not wait too long, because people have waited for way too long for way too many people. And usually the other person doesn't change. Yeah. Usually they don't. Yeah. I'm also not saying leave right away in the first moment. No, stay with it, give them, have conversations. Maybe invite, let's go to couples work, let's do some couples therapy. I do a lot of that. And then the partner who's never been to therapy, after some couple sessions, they see that it's okay. They see that therapy is a safe place. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. And suddenly they start working with me one-on-one. And then the other partner is so happy. Oh, my partner's finally healing. Okay, great. But it didn't work with trying to pressure them. It's an invitation. It has to be an invitation. Hey, look, how about we do a couple sessions? Or how about we read this book together as a first step? Right? Because people feel intimidated by all this. Yeah. Okay, let's do another practice before we say goodbye to each other. Find